Hello to you. I'm very glad to join the session, at least, and last probably. And main topics you will probably see in my own language, which is supposed to be visual, and you will see it right now. I'm Daphna MARGOLIN. I'm an eco-vision artist, and dealing with all these topics that we are talking about the most of the time now. And hopefully it will give some horizon to another aspect of expression. So please.
I'm Daphna Margolin. I'm an ecotech artist. I have devoted my life to creation in the fields of ecology, environment, biotechnology, and art. As an artist, I investigate the impact of technologies on humankind and on the environment. My art explores the mutual relationships between technology and humankind, and how technology can expand our natural capacity and move us beyond our physical limitations to time and space. My artwork and installations in both 2 and 3 dimensions are made from different materials to reflect the genetic modifications and impact of environmental damage on human senses. My works of art emphasize the differences between the desired aim and the actual impact. The main questions I ask in my creative work are: how far can we go, and what are the consequences?
And now you are invited to join in on a virtual tour throughout the artist's works of art in Eco Vision. The first theme discussed is that of biotechnology and genetic engineering, asking the questions: how are bio and technology becoming linked? And how is this engineering affecting us? Gene Garden is a digital garden which is a pathway to the main exhibition, much like a real garden in a museum. Gene Garden is an examination of human evolution. The installation is composed of a series of petri dishes with plant and human samples surrounded by a soil border. The man-made petri dishes have overrun the soil, which has been pushed out of the garden's border. Hereditary traits are passed down from generation to generation in the context of their environment. When we engineer these traits, what are the universal implications? Gene Garden illustrates the change between the past and present. Once, human evolution progressed slowly and naturally, whereas today, the science of genetic modification in the laboratory outpasses and overshadows the efforts of natural evolution. Next, we move on to a womb-like environment. Womb Brain is a life-size walkthrough illustration that gently, yet provocatively, reveals the life-giving process and subsequent fear of the unknown. Exploring humanity's reluctance to depart from its unknown childhood landscapes and venture forth into an ever-changing and manipulated environment. The question asked here is, to what kind of world are we headed? The visitor enters the womb installation by crossing over glass-covered circuit boards, symbolizing parental medical experimentation, before reaching an umbilical cord seat facing 2 aquariums. The first is where the mother will identify her baby in the test tube. The second reveals a baby swimming through amniotic fluid, trying to reach a picture of a dollar bill, symbolizing the truth that once the baby is born, most everything will cost money. At the end of the installation, the visitor realizes that the era of innocence has ended, and like the baby, who is warm and comfortable yet curious, wants to leave the comfort of the womb, but isn't sure which kind of world to expect. Next is the installation Genetic Fascicle. Fascicle, which represents a genetic reproduction whereby the DNA revolves and hence the future, which is loaned to us, also changes. Inside the main box is a depiction of human lungs. These collective lungs reflect the truth that all humankind depends on oxygen for survival. Sitting atop this box are continuously spinning recycled wheels with photographic portraits intertwined within the wheel spokes. These are half faces that combine differently each time the wheels are spun. Symbolizing evolution, this illustrates how we are all a genetic mix, and every human being on Earth is the result of an almost infinite number of genetic evolutions. The next evolutionary adaptation is unknown to us. Inspired by the 1969 Woodstock Music Festival, a cultural touchstone in US history, the human sandglass reminds us that our period of existence is limited. 500,000 young people attended Woodstock, living in peace for 3 days without any visible form of security. They cooperated to share food, shelter, and more. Separate colored sands, representing humanity, mixed together in this illustration to make a single color, a united hue of humanity's future, to represent how our globalized world is becoming smaller as people of different backgrounds, ages, and races mix together to build a common culture. As we peel away each person's shell of culture, language, and tribal traditions, and set aside technological innovation and science, humanity stands as a single living organism, responsible for the future of our species. The next artworks depict this complex interface between the evolution of the mind, biological heritage, and man-made world. The question being asked here is, are genetic principles changing? The question asked in Injecting is Homo faber, human beings who control their fate and environment as a result of tools, replacing the eternal creator? The syringe in this artwork represents humanity's scientific attempt to vaccinate and protect humans, animals, and plants from disease and insect infestations. We cannot yet fully understand the full effect of these manipulations on our ecosystem or how they are impacting the soil and the air we breathe. Yet there are already movements across the world fighting the challenges causing global environmental damage and escalating climate changes. In the next installation, Duplicating Man, Transplantation and Integrating Technologies in the Human Body, is depicted as showing a synthesis between technology and the biological realm. Our arteries can now take blood through interchangeable biotechnological parts. Telemedicine, whereby scientists can enhance the human body by inserting technological devices, leads to questions of how this will affect our brain and our functions. Cells can be combined for the purpose of genetic human replication. The question asked in transplantation and technological fusion is how do the implantation, replacement, and regeneration of body functions affect our brains? The next thematic strand is on communication between humans and nature, the bridge between people and cultures, but also between humans and their environment. The original Tower of Babel is a biblical story explaining the existence of diverse human languages. According to the book of Genesis, God disrupted the Babylonians' efforts to build a tower with its top in the heavens by confusing the workers' common language. The city was never completed, and the people were dispersed over the face of the earth. Similarly, this hanging spiral installation, Contemporary Tower of Babel, represents our world today, a cultural mix in which religions, folklore, nourishment, money, science, and high-tech dwell together. Yet unlike the original biblical story, which ends with the scattering of humankind across all the planet, this contemporary interpretation reflects the truth that scientific advances have brought humankind closer together. Although this synergy has not always been towards a positive goal, consider for instance nuclear weapons research, this piece is an optimistic interpretation of our global village. In telecommunication, Daphna explores a world without human touch, a new communication, both with and without cables. In urbanism, the central spine in the human body, leading to the head, represents urban pollution. In the next series of artwork, Daphna explores more closely the space race, how we go from the depths of evolution to a breakthrough into space. The competition to seed space. This competition between a sperm cell and a rocket represents the space race and exposes humankind's desire to discover this hidden world. Who will control technological knowledge in the future? And in Breakthrough, in this painting, the brain is searching for a breakthrough to escape from the lowest place on Earth, the Dead Sea, and out into the unknown. In this next series, Daphna looks at ecology, knowing that man enjoys his technological innovations, but is also anxious about his impact on human existence. Here, in nature's tombstone, the green square emphasizes nature as it was and can be again. And so as not to become a tombstone, it's a reminder that we don't want a monument to what was. The sculptures, monuments to the culture of consumption, symbolize humankind's consumption culture. In this piece, Urban Lungs, our collective lungs absorb emissions from power plants in cities. Adam and Eve was Daphna's first environmental work, influenced by the devastating impact of technology on the natural world. Adam and Eve were, according to the creation myth, the first man and woman. They are central to the belief that humanity is in essence a single family, with everyone descending from a single pair of original ancestors. In this piece, Eve sits under the tree, smoking. The milk in her breast is poisoned. Her fetus is also smoking. Eve has no hands because she has no need for them. Everything in this world is synthetic and upright automatically. Meanwhile, Adam tries to stop the industrial pollution that is surrounding them. The soil is barren, and the poisoned apple rests on the synthetic grass in the foreground. This work, Planet Contamination, asks, how sustainable is human life? Planet contamination forces us to confront our desire to live on Earth along with our fear of the ever-increasing pollution encircling the globe. Here a woman is situated between the continents. She hovers between the present and the future, and behind her we witness the consequences of planet contamination, a ticking bomb for mankind. In this work, Daphna imagines that the Statue of Liberty is lonely, with no fresh air to breathe. The roots of her city are rotten, and no vegetation can grow. Although she should be a symbol of freedom, in fact, she is becoming a symbol of our captivity on Earth. In the shape of a human torso, this installation, Plenty Life, represents humankind on Earth, a species with an unknown future, reliant on the life flow of plant and animal life, requiring water, soil and air for its subsistence. Below the torso is soil, filled with rocks and fossils showing how since the dawn of time, our planet continues to evolve. Rising from this soil are veins filled with colored blood, the green blood representing vegetation and the red representing humanity, mixing together to reach an unknown evolutionary destination. In Life on Earth, Daphna expresses her hope that although the Earth is currently in peril, in the end we'll find ways to care for the planet and secure its future. In the film we witness the World Center, surrounded by hands that represent human life and the warmth that connects with the original source of life, water, land and air. Daphna is heartened by the serious technological endeavors and breakthroughs, including renewable energy such as solar and wind, water desalination, foam meat, recycling, and reduced reliance of livestock and more. The future of the Earth is in our hands. To save it, we need to think globally and act locally. Thank you.
Well, I say everything was understood so far. So
I very much like what Daphna is doing because art has a way to explore the human mind and the imagination in a way that other modes like science and so on are too dry to do. And so it was wonderful to see like the use of the womb, um, the use of the story of Adam and Eve. And I would recommend in this regard that you, if you have a chance to look, I'm not self promoting, it's because of what I wrote in it, my book called Veil, Modesty, Privacy, and Resistance. But it gives a slightly, first of all, I show how the womb is a very dominant worldview and relations among relatives, like in the Arab world, are described in terms of womb, womanhood, and um, but also it would give a cross-cultural perspective that Adam and Eve, if you look at the Islamic story, and the Islamic story of myth is also about Adam and Eve, but it's a very different perspective. So uh, it's not one mode of Adam and Eve, and it might inspire you to see how there was the, in a way, no sin and no problem is just recognizing human nature in the Islamic version of Adam and Eve. I discussed that also in the book. But I was very impressed with what you're doing. It's very complex. I'm a visual anthropologist, so I make films and I know how complex this can be. But what you're doing is something I can never do, which is go into the mind and bring it out to us in the form of art. So I really appreciate that.
well, thank you. I appreciate your comment. So yeah, that's exactly what you were mentioning right now. That was my goal. That was my thought during the years. And well, we have to collaborate, we have to do something that can improve the connections between art, visual worlds, and science, of course, because they are linked together.
Well, art and science are both about imagination because it is the cognitive capacity of the human mind which makes us what we are. And we are exploring it from different avenues.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, in ancient, let's say 500 years ago, when Leonardo started analyzing the body, anatomy, etc., then of course the science was just in the first steps. And right now we are all together like one unit. It's only from different points of view, but you are right about the fantasy and imagination, which are leading scientists and artists. That's where it comes to.
Science is perceived in the wrong way, quantitatively rigid and so on. No, I mean, Albert Einstein just sat and imagined a theory. It's all theoretical that shook the world. And they are still doing experimentals on his idea, which is all imagination, but it's also scientific imagination. Yes.
You see, in science, sometimes you are analyzing a micro world. Although artists can have a different perspective, while it's, from a different background, we are not really linked or we are not dependent on the very little items. Although today there is a connection, and I do think that we have to collaborate and do things together, much more.
And less politicize the difference. Yes.
That's true. That's true.
That's all
Thank
that,
you.
yeah.
Yes.
Daphna, I thought that was just outstanding. We've heard since we all were born that a picture is worth 1,000 words.
Mm.
A moving picture is worth millions of words. But a large group of thought-provoking questions literally overwhelm me. So what I'm asking is there a way I can contact you so I can talk about some of your themes, because I would like to exploit some of them in my work, especially with Indigenous people.
Of course you can. I mean, do you want it right now, right away, or you know,
Well,
it's
I'll put my email on the
Okay.
chat list, okay? And then you can get to me. Thank you. Outstanding.
I thank you so much, really.
So, thank you, Daphna.
I sent my address right now, so everybody can find my details.
Wonderful.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for sharing with us. It's wonderful. Perfect end to the session.
Thank you very much. Thank you.